there, dear friends. Kalidas here to offer some more thoughts about the housing system to continue our little series here. We're going to be looking at Yogananda's chart today, and we'll be looking at the Moksha houses. Last time we looked at the Dharma houses. That was personal Dharma, creative Dharma, and spiritual Dharma. Now we're going to look at the Moksha houses, which are the 4th, the 8th, and the 12th house. So every 4th house in the chart. So the first house of the chart is Dharma. The second house of the chart is Artha. The third house is Kama. And then the 4th house is Moksha. And it continues in that pattern. The 5th house will again be Dharma. The 6th, Artha. The 7th, Kama. And the 8th, Moksha. And in case you're not familiar with those terms, Dharma is that duty which will lead you to the divine. Artha is the pursuit of wealth and security while here in fragile human form. Desire is Kama. Kama is that which we yearn for. And then lastly is Moksha. That's the end of it all, when everything, all our chips are cashed back in. So let's look at Yogananda's 4th house. The house of family, home, and mother. Yogananda has his Venus, the planet of the heart, in the sign of mother, the 4th house. And this is a deep love for the mother, and yet Yogananda lost his mother at the age of 8. And if you look in the 4th house of Yogananda's chart, it is Scorpio, and it is ruled by Mars. So where is Mars? It represents some message about the mother of this person. And the Mars is in the 8th house, which is one of the Moksha houses we'll discuss today. It's the house of death, of rebirth and transformation, a powerful place of karmic purification and enlightenment. What is between you and God? Only your karma. So it is in working through your karmic debts that your freedom will be once again attained. And that is often 8th house experiences. They can be rough. They can be meeting with mortality. They can be filled with discomfort and injustice, unfairness. Let's go back. I'm jumping ahead into the 8th house when we were going to talk about the 4th house. Family, home, and mother. And yes, Yogananda's 4th house was blessed. He was blessed with a beautiful family, with parents who were harmonious, and a mother who was deeply attuned to God and her guru, Lahiri Mahashaya. So in this world, what makes the 4th house moksha? You know, the man and the woman, when they marry and they have this honey, someday attitude, someday we're going to have a big home where we can do what? Where we can shut the door and lock the door so that we are free. This is pseudo moksha, fake, counterfeit freedom. We can be free from the problems of the world if we build a home that's large enough, more beautiful location, and has locks on every door. So this is the first idea of moksha for man, is the home. We will find a home where we can be separated from the madness of this world. And of course, the madness of the home becomes all that more unbearable when we discover later that if we have not built ourselves into an instrument of harmony, we will not be able to build a home into an instrument of love and harmony. So where is the real home? This is the message of moksha for the 4th house, and that is Yogananda. He said, and this is whose chart we're looking at, he said, when I do not like this world, I just go here. So liberation is learning where home really lies. The 4th house is a moksha house because it will constantly have us on the move searching for home until we realize that it's right within us. And then family. Family is that which we are born into karmically, but we expand our love to the lot of humanity. This would be the moksha part of family, is learning to see all as your dearest soul brothers and sisters. And life will teach you this, especially if you have 4th house karma. You won't be able to be inwardly happy if you don't like people. You must learn to love all as your own family, as your own kin. They all come from the divine. And then lastly, in the fourth house, we have the mother. Yogananda's mother was a beautiful mother. Perhaps you've been blessed with a beautiful earthly mother, or perhaps not. That's part of your moksha too, learning who is your real mother. And if you had a beautiful earthly mother, she will someday leave this world. And perhaps that will call you to realize that you've had many mothers, and that there's one mother behind them all, and she's still here, that she's still mothering you. And that is that presence of God who we can rely on, who we can trust to guide us through life. Just as we trusted Mother when we were in passenger seat as a child and she was driving the car, we knew that she knew the way home. Even if she had to make a bunch of stops on the way, we weren't worried as if she didn't know. And so our cosmic mother knows the way, and to release stress and anxiety is to trust her completely. And that is the dissolution of the Rahu energy in the moon. That is the worry. That is the projection of future, which we're always wrong about. So the fourth house is very liberating in these three aspects of mother, home, and family. The eighth house is the next moksha house, and Yogananda has Jupiter and Mars there. Mars being the lord of his fourth house, which is the mother. And he did witness the death of his mother, or he went through the death of his mother when he was very young. So it played a big role in his vision of this world. What is liberation? And what is the process of death, rebirth, and transformation? Because it's not just dying and leaving the physical body, but it's the ability to release your attachments and to allow the karmic purification to be what it is. This is the death. The rebirth would be us learning to trust the process, the learning to see that something is happening that's helping me to grow. I might not know what I'm supposed to be growing into even, but to trust the process, that there's a bigger force guiding this. This is some sort of rebirth. This is a recalibration of the purpose of life, being attunement with something much more powerful than your own ego. And then the transformation part can be fun. This can be where you experience Kundalini awakening and Shakti empowerment. And that is the process of realizing that you can't face the karma, that it's too tough for you alone as an ego. So when you look at the unfairness of your karmic situation, you're facing what looks like death, rebirth, and transformation. But do you trust it? You won't unless you pray, unless you ask that God show you the way. And this has been a great blessing in my own life, is I've been given work, astrology readings that require this. It requires that I do this, or it will not be a good reading. There's so much information in a chart that it will bog the mind down with details and too much information if there isn't a graceful presence flowing. So the transformation part is when we see something that we must do that we are not sure we can do, and instead we say, God, I probably cannot without you, but you can do anything. You hold the whole structure of the creation together. So please work through me, show me each step of the way how to do this best, how to receive the blessing inherent in these difficult circumstances. And one clue is that it will be likely the action that will be most in tune with this way of liberation is that which is best for everyone involved in your karmic situation. How to bless everyone with the most amount of love, kindness, and fairness, and to let go as much as you can of your own, let's say, mentally weighing of what is fair karmically. Because in the 8th house, it will never look fair. It's a debt you must repay. And what's between you and God? Only your karma. So how do we repay our karma? We pray for his help to work it out through us. This is not a task that we're capable of doing alone with the ego moon, because there's too much projection, Rahu, And there's too much reflection of past failure, Ketu. So we need the presence of God to guide us through our karma. Not the past of God, not the imagined future of God, but right now God to guide us through it. And this is the beautiful part of the 8th house, is becoming an instrument, realizing that you can be guided and that it will be better than you imagine, so you can relax about the things that you normally stress out about. And lastly, we have the 12th house. Oh, and one more thing about Yogananda's 8th house is he has Jupiter there, which is a benevolent planet, and it's in its own house. The 8th house, Pisces, is ruled by Jupiter in Yogananda's chart, and Jupiter is right at home there, bringing an understanding at the beginning of his life of the process of transformation and the ego's death and rebirth into an instrument of the divine. Jupiter and Mars are also in Swami Kriyananda's chart, and they represent a very powerful combination of passion for truth. The 12th house is the last house of any chart. This is the last moksha house, and this is the house that most people fear. It's the house where they will lose everything that they have attained while incarnated. What do you want to lose? This is what my teacher Drupada has said is the secret to the 8th house, is find those things that you want to lose and begin losing them, letting go of them. These are your attachments. The 12th house is a house of detachment and renunciation, of realizing that life is short and that we're going to lose everything that we now see in form. So what do we do with that piece of knowledge? Some people reject the world as a result, and they run off to a monastery, and that's the world rejecting approach. There will still be millions who suffer in the world, who are seeking the worldly values, and the person who's in the monastery will not be able to help those worldly people by running away to the monastery, wanting to lose their karma by abandoning it. Rather, the 12th house in its higher nature is a channel of the divine. It surrenders to where God has placed them, just as Lahiri Mahashaya was considered by another saint to be like a kitten in the mother's arms, carried to wherever she wishes that this kitten be, and that he's perfectly content that the mother knows best. So 12th house is a house of release of the ego, of the attachments. And Yogananda has Cancer for the 12th house, and that is ruled by the moon, and the moon is rising in the chart. So what we're looking at is that this person was geared for liberation, that the 12th Lord rising in any chart will be that their own personal development will include ego death. It will include their realization that they're not enough, that they must become everything without boundaries around a certain circumscribed self. And this produces a wish to escape when we do feel limited. The 12th house people of the world, they get into drug addiction, they get into all sorts of things that can end them up in other isolated places like hospitals and prisons, if they go towards the self-destructive direction of world rejection. But what about Swami Kriyananda's message of not world-rejecting renunciation, but samadhi affirming, I am everything. There's nothing that I am not. This is the state of real freedom, of real moksha. And it's only once we've let go of everything that we think is ours that we're free to embrace all that we really are, which is the everything. And this is something that each of us has to come to. The more letting go we do, the more we'll realize that this realization of our completeness within is already present. It's because we're holding on and distracted to other things external that we cannot glimpse this completeness within. But when we've let go of everything, and you see this in the end of someone's life, especially if they're a spiritually inclined person, there's no more attachment there, then there's no more suffering. This person is free. And this makes an instrument of the divine, because there's no ego in the way. It's an illuminated moon. It's full. It's no longer holding shadow of Rahu Ketu, past future identification. Instead, it's God's presence alone. And this is the real 12th house, and it's the higher octave of it. It can get us into a lot of suffering. This house of enforces temporality. And whether or not you have 12th house planets in your chart, you will face this temporality. You will lose everything. So the yogis are those who look at this truth and begin doing something about it right away, so that they relieve the inevitable deep suffering that would come if they lived for the things of the world. So the great masters say, live in the world, but not of the world. Rather, live as a child of God in the world, to bless all those with love and kindness and generosity who are here still incarnating and stuck in the wheel of limitation. The 12th house people, they don't like limitation. They'll do anything to break the boundary that they currently feel. And that's why some 12th house people without guidance get into really dangerous actions in creation. So if you are aware that there is death facing you, and that death will come to everyone in this world, then you'll live differently. And this is what the 12th house produces in our awareness, is an awareness of the temporality of it all. And so 12th house people can become very powerful instruments for the divine because of this detachment, and because of what they've instead attached to, the ideal of omnipresence, that God is everywhere and will be experienced when acknowledged and remembered as existing everywhere. So I hope that wasn't too complicated of a talk for you today. The 4th, the 8th, and the 12th house. We looked at them in Yogananda's chart, and next time perhaps we'll look at the Artha houses in his chart and gain some more understanding about the housing system. God bless you, and thank you for watching today.